House Speaker Mike Johnson unveiled a Republican-led foreign aid package yesterday. According to three sources familiar with the process, the legislation would include three aid measures with roughly tens of billions of dollars for Israel, Ukraine, Taiwan, and allies in the Indo-Pacific. A fourth measure would include national security priorities, such as seizing Russian assets in the U.S., a loan lease program for Ukraine, and additional sanctions on Iran. Johnson says his preference is to vote on each bill individually, but will let the chamber decide.
There are precipitating events around the globe that we're all watching very carefully, and we know that the world is watching us to see how we react. We have terrorists and tyrants and terrible leaders around the world like Putin and Xi and in Iran, and they're watching to see if America will stand up for its allies and in our own interest around the globe, and we will.
Well, but they haven't. I'm very glad he said that. And hope that he actually comes through with a clean aid bill to Ukraine. They haven't said it, but they're talking about it now. What's it look like, Richard?
Look, I don't much care whether it's a combined bill or a separate bill, so long as the aid for Ukraine passes. That's the most pressing of all of that.
Right.
And every day the battlefield news, Joe, is awful strategically, but also in human terms. The idea that you have these soldiers on the front lines who simply maybe have a half dozen shells and they have to parcel them out to get through a day. You can't fight a war that way, and it's tilting in Russia's favor. This is recklessness and irresponsibility on steroids that we've ever reached this point. I'm hoping, and again, to me, it doesn't matter so much whether it's loans or grants. Just get Ukraine the military aid. More and sooner. There's obviously going to be a compromise here. It'll be less than Ukraine wants and needs, arguably. It's obviously been later. Some of the economic terms won't be as generous. But if that's the price of getting it, let's pay the price.
Let's bring in Admiral James Stavridis. He's a former Supreme Allied Commander of NATO, retired four-star Navy Admiral, and the international analyst for NBC News. Admiral, your thoughts on this aid?
I'm with Richard. Get it done. And frankly, it doesn't matter whether it's linked together, although I can make a pretty good argument that they all kind of fit together. But at this point, without question, the racehorse that needs to be in the pole position is Ukraine. Look, the Israelis are not going to be defeated by Hamas. Certainly, China is a longer-term problem. The one that really matters now is getting the aid to Ukraine. It's a military imperative. The only bright spots in Ukraine are the hits against the Russian Black Sea fleet at sea have been quite effective. Other than that, the Ukrainians are on their back foot, both in the air and on the land. Good news, they're going to add F-16s over the next couple of months, but that will not tip this balance without the bread and butter of hardcore ammunition for the battlefield, particularly artillery shells. Got to get done. And final thought, to draw a line under something the speaker said, which is the world is watching. It is watching.
It is watching, and this is good news, Jonathan, obviously, if the aid gets to our allies, but it's a little rich for a lot of Democrats who've been making this exact argument for months and months and months now, which is Beijing is watching what we do in Ukraine. Mike Johnson, who stood in the way of a lot of this aid, is now making those same arguments, saying also the munitions are being made in America. We've been saying on that show, Admiral Stavridis has been saying on this show for months and months and months. So Speaker Johnson coming around late to all the cases that people have been making for foreign aid to Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan.
Yeah, he's come around late. And also, this is far from a sure thing to get done here. First of all, the fourth bill we don't know much about yet. It's still being worked out. It's going to include a package of related measures, potentially a ban on TikTok, seizing assets from Russian oligarchs in the U.S., and so on. But the White House deeply opposes this idea. The whole point was to combine this, thinking that it would have a better chance to get Ukraine funding through if it was attached to Israel. Certainly right now, Israel has a lot of momentum in the wake of this weekend's attacks, but a lot of those on the right are still opposing the Ukraine aid. And it's not clear that Johnson has the votes. A number of Republicans are still opposed to this. And in order to placate some of the hard right Republicans, even if he's able to get their support in the House, it's probably going to mean including provisions that are non-starters in the Senate, so that they're going to have to go back there. And that seems pretty dire that could get done. And lastly, the fact that Johnson's even taking this step is endangering his speakership. So I guess credit to him for doing that. That Marjorie Taylor Greene raged afterwards about this, declaring it a betrayal.
Yeah, but again, you said hard to right. You can't even say that anymore, Willie, when members of the Republican House GOP are saying they're Putin propagandists. Leaders of the Republican Party's foreign policy apparatus inside the House are saying they have become dupes to Russian disinformation. Or, I don't know, are they dupes? Why would somebody from northern Georgia start spouting Russian propaganda points? She's not a dupe, is she? Why would, I'm just curious. Why would other members of the House Republican Party start spouting Russian propaganda? I don't have any answers to this, though I am fascinated by it. I know there's been some talk in Russia that actually, some talk in Europe, that some European politicians have actually been on the take from Russia. That explains that. I don't understand, though, why politicians from Dalton, Georgia, are spewing talking points from Vladimir Putin and RT. Russian television. Very, very strange times when, I'm not saying this, I'm quoting the Republican who runs the Intel Committee, who's saying this. I'm quoting the Republican who runs the Foreign Affairs Committee for saying this. Very strange times indeed in the Republican House.
Mike Turner, the chair of the Intel Committee, a Republican, said publicly in an interview on CNN last week he hears direct Russian propaganda from the mouths of the Republicans on the floor of the House. That's from him. He's a Republican talking about his colleagues there. And it is a fair question. Why?
Why?
What's going on? And by the way, you could take that argument, as we have for almost a decade now, all the way to the top. Why does Donald Trump defend Vladimir Putin at every turn? We've never fully gotten to the bottom of that, but it does seem many of his minions in the House are following his lead on that.
Yeah. Richard, why?
Look, we've been debating that for 10 years now.
No, but I know. But now you have Ronald Reagan's former party, being run by a speaker who has been worried about Russian propagandists. Again, Russian propagandists, according to the head of the House GOP Intel Committee.
So let's talk about a couple of reasons. One is the isolationism in the Republican Party, as you know now, is powerful. The virus has come out, and it's got a lot of political appeal. There's a lot of the support for Republicans, particularly in the South, there's white Christians. A lot of support there for Russia. You see the websites there, a lot of overlap, a lot of support, almost visceral support for Putin and Putinism. An inability to support anything that Joe Biden wants. If Joe Biden wants it, Republicans have to oppose it. I can come up with lots of reasons. Bottom line is, Joe, it risks American national security. These people, they use the word patriot 24/7. This is about as unpatriotic as you get.
No, unless you're talking about Russian patriotism.
Yeah.
Literally spewing Russian propaganda talking points, according to the GOP Intel chief and the head of the Foreign Affairs Committee in the House Republican Party.
It is a strange number one issue. Why is this her number one issue?
Why?
I don't have that answer.
I don't understand.
Perhaps
why.
We'll find out. Perhaps we'll find out.
It's bizarre.
Hey everyone, MSNBC has a new and improved app. You'll get real-time alerts and analysis, live blogs, in-depth essays, video highlights, and the best 2024 election coverage. Download the new MSNBC app. Here's how to do it. You tap on the App Store on your phone. You hit search on the bottom right corner. You type in MSNBC. You click on the MSNBC app. You click on Get or the cloud icon and enjoy it.